Caught me peeping at. Well, what have you caught me peeping at? So I've had problems with the concept of orcs. When I started fantasy wargaming, which wasn't Dungeons and Dragons, the only company making fantasy figures was Miniature Figurines. They produced figures for Lord of the Rings, so their orcs look like this. And I like those figures. I love those figures, especially when you've got blocks of them, like you might have if you were doing a more traditional battle of Pelennor Fields or something. They look impressive, 30, all stood with their shields. But as I've created my own world and I've played more Dungeons and Dragons, I've gone through a bit of a journey with orcs. Orcs for a long time were just big goblins, and that really was a consensus of opinion, and that was fine. That was okay. Grenadier did some really big muscly chaps that we called orcs, and I think I preferred to the Games Workshop orcs, who even in the early 80s, 82 to 86, were beginning to get a little bit square jaw, big nosed. I thought almost caricature of a creature, and I wasn't really happy with that. So anything that I found that was a really big goblin, I put into my, in inverted commas, orc army. But even that was all I was doing, was putting a label on things. I was still playing orcs from Lord of the Rings, really. I remember in the, I think it was probably mid-80s, late 80s, Games Workshop came up with a family of orcs, Arboth and the Black Mountain Boys, and that sowed in me the idea that these orcs in my world, because it's very mountainous where the goblin and orcs live, a bit like the Himalayas, perhaps each tribe of goblins, because they were all based around animals, local forest animals, the wolf clan, the stag clan, the bear clan. Maybe orcs were more to do with a geographical feature like Black Mountain. I even experimented with other characteristics. I had greyskins. I'd had several campaigns where the orc goblin high king had tried to mould all of the tribes, these disparate people in Jural, into an army. And the ones that 3 times refused to answer the call on random dice throws were orcs that I'd painted with greyskin. And so I wrote into my world that greyskins were independent and would not ally themselves with anyone else and just fought violently and strongly for their mountain. But as time's gone by, I don't think that's good enough. And then mulling this over with you on a video a few days ago, I was just idling around wondering what I could do with the notion of an orc. What I didn't expect, and thanks for this, was the torrent of superb ideas of what you were doing. And it really made me think. And so I've sort of decided, and then this is not original, this is an amalgamation of ideas that have been prompted by you. I think I'm still going to occasionally use the term orc, because I'm 70 years old and I've been using that term for a long time. So I am going to fall into the trap of saying it. But maybe they aren't a race. Maybe they are a name that is given to something that cannot be named. You know, in sort of Viking Norse poetic tradition, the kenning, you didn't name the creature directly because that would bring it, that would make it real. So you might describe an eagle as a wind glider. You try not to say the name. Having the name of something is very powerful, so you don't do it. So maybe in my world, everything's a goblin, as I've outlined in other videos. So you've got goblins going right from the reversed through to the feral, and there are 5 steps of goblin, drowned imps, right up. Perhaps there are times or places where goblin are the bane of everything. They are hungry, they are desperate, they have almost forgotten what they were. They are the bringers of ruin, they are the followers of war. They destroy everything like a plague. And I like that idea. They're going to be tribal. Their leaders are going to be the biggest and the strongest. There's going to be no intellectual decisions made amongst this lot. The biggest, the strongest, he's the leader. If there is magic, it will be shamanic, wild, pagan magic. I don't know if there is. But sometimes in these games, things appear years later that you never imagined. And then it all makes sense in retrospect. I think they're going to be very rare to encounter in my world. Not every great goblin you meet would be described as orc. Oh, I like the way I said that. So it's more a description. But it's like, yeah, you know, them next door, they've got a dog. Next door, they've got a vicious hound. It's the same animal, it's just a different way of saying it. Perhaps. I don't know. I'm sort of ambling around. And I'm sure you will contribute more to this. I know what I'm trying to do. I want them vicious. I want them unpredictable. I want them rare. I want them to be harbingers of doom. Unspoken and terrible. Ta-da, joke.